Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Science Quickly. In this video we are going to talk about what is displacement and what is distance. First of all, let's start with distance. Actually, I'll explain you both the things in one shot. Let's say a body starts from point A. So let's say this is the starting point and it travels through this path and reaches the point B. We can say point B and let's say, let me just write down, point A is the starting point and point B is the ending point. Now, what is distance? Distance is the actual length of the path, actual length of the path from start to end. Sorry, to end. So it is the length of this curvy path over here, whatever the distance is. Let's say, for example, it is 100 kilometers. Okay, so it is 100 kilometers to go from A to B following this road or this path. Now the next thing is, what is displacement? Displacement is the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point. That means if you draw a straight line from the starting point to ending point, the length of this green line, that is known as displacement. So we can write down displacement equals to shortest distance between starting point and ending point. So if you draw a straight line, the length of this straight line will tell us what is the displacement from A to B. Now let's figure out what are the similarities and what are the differences between distance and displacement. Distance and displacement. The SI unit of distance is meters and the SI unit for displacement is also meters. Distance is a scalar quantity. That means we do not need direction. We only need the magnitude and the unit. For example, 5 kilometers. We don't mention the direction over here. Displacement is a vector quantity. So we have to mention if the direction of the displacement is positive or negative. If a body is going from A to B, in our previous example, if a body is traveling from A to B, we can say that the distance traveled is in the positive direction. But if the body is traveling in the opposite direction, if a body is going from B to A, we will consider that as negative displacement. Now again, the displacement can be 10 kilometers minus, or it can be 10 kilometers plus. The magnitude is same, 10 kilometers, 10, unit is same, kilometers, but the sign is different. The sign tells us what is the direction of the displacement. Negative sign basically tells us it is in the opposite direction. So we can say displacement is a vector quantity. We have to mention what is the direction, plus 5 meters, or it can be minus 5 meters. Okay, these are the basics about displacement and distance. Now there are more distinctions which we will see in this part. Okay, the magnitude of displacement is either equal to the distance or less than the distance. Now, what does that mean? Let's use an example like we did earlier. Let's say a body starts from point A. So this is a start and it reaches the end point over here. A body uses this path to travel from A starting point to the ending point. So the distance is the length equals to length of the path. And what is displacement? Displacement is the shortest distance between the starting and the ending point. So if you draw a straight line, so here displacement equals to length of yellow line. Now obviously we all can see that the length of the yellow line will always be shorter than the length of the pink line. So we can say displacement is smaller than distance. This is one point over here. Okay, this is very important. Displacement is smaller than displacement, or distance will always be greater than displacement. Now let's suppose a body travels in a straight line. Let's look at the other scenario. If a body travels in a straight line, okay, let's say body starts from A and it goes to point B. Now the body is traveling in a straight line, so the road is pretty much straight from A to B. Now if you see in this case over here, distance will be equal to displacement. So this proves our next point, what we are saying is that the displacement will always be smaller than distance, or distance will always be equal to displacement. It will never happen that displacement is smaller than, all right, displacement is greater than, sorry, let me just erase this part. Displacement is greater than distance. This scenario will never happen. I hope you all are clear about this. The second point is the distance is the length of the path traveled by the body. So it is always positive, but displacement can be negative. So distance is always positive and displacement can be positive or negative. Let's try to understand. A body starts from point A and it goes to point B over here. Let's say this is the path of the body. Okay. Now let's say the length of this yellow line equals to 5 kilometers. So we can say distance equals to 5 kilometers. If you find what is the displacement, it is the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point. So let's say the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point, which is this pink line. So length of the pink line. So length, let's say length equals to 2 kilometers. So we can say displacement equals to 2 kilometers. Now in both these cases, distance is also positive and displacement is also positive. But let's say in the similar way, if a body starts from point A and it goes to point B, again taking a route like this. Now let's say the length of this pink line equals to 1 kilometer. So we can say that the distance equals to 1 kilometer, positive 1 kilometer. But if you measure what is the displacement, it is the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point. This is the starting point and this is the ending point. So the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point. Now we are going in the opposite direction. Let's say the length of the yellow line equals to 0.5 kilometer. So now we can say displacement equals to 0.5 kilometer. But remember, the object is traveling in the opposite direction from A to B. So we say that displacement is negative. So a distance will always be positive. Doesn't matter if the body is going in from A to B or B to A, distance will always be positive. But displacement can be positive. Again, if you see in this case, displacement is positive, and in this case, the displacement is negative. So that is the second difference over here, where we are saying that displacement is always positive, sorry, distance is always positive, and displacement can be positive or it can be negative also. The third difference is that the displacement can be zero, but distance cannot be zero. Let's take an example. Okay, let's say there is a person standing on the ground and he throws a ball upwards. The ball travels all the way up to here, and then the again ball will fall down over here. The boy again catches the ball back in his hand. So let's say it travels 10 meters going upwards and 10 meters going downwards. So the distance traveled by the ball equals to 20 meters. 10 plus 10, 20 meters. And displacement, now the capital symbol for displacement, capital S with an arrow is a symbol for displacement. Displacement equals to the distance between the starting point and the ending point. Now, if you notice over here, the starting point is the hand of this person and the ending point is also the same. So the distance and displacement are exactly same. So the distance, the length between the distance starting point and the ending point is 0. So we can say displacement over here is equal to 0 meters. So this brings us to the third difference over here. Distance will never be equal to 0, but displacement can be equal to 0. Let's take one more example to show that displacement can be equal to 0. Let's say a body is traveling in a circular path. A body is moving in circles. Okay, so let's just draw that part. A body starts from point A. It travels in a circular path and again comes back to this point B. This is the ending point. So A is our starting point and B is our ending point. So now let's try to figure out what is the distance and what is the displacement. Looking at this example, let's assume that the circumference of this circle equals to 2 meters. So the length of this path from A to B is equal to 2 meters. This is the circumference. Okay, so distance equals to 2 meters. That is the length of the actual path. And displacement, which I'm going to write it as a capital S, equals to 0 meters. Remember, the starting point and the ending point is exactly same. So there is no length between the A and B, or the starting point and ending point. So the displacement is equal to 0, which again proves our point that distance will never be equal to 0. Distance will never be equal to 0, but displacement can be 0. In short, if a body is moving, displacement can be 0, but distance cannot be 0. If distance is 0, that means the body is at rest. Okay, everyone, so this is the main difference between distance and displacement. In our next video, we are going to talk about what is speed and what is velocity. So please do watch the next video for speed and velocity. Thank you for watching.